Hello students, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy. Today in this video lesson, we are going to understand the poem Father to Son by Elizabeth Jennings. This poem is from the English reader of class 11, Hornbill. Before we understand the poem, let's try to have some information about the poet Elizabeth Jennings. Elizabeth Jennings, she was born on 18 July 1926 and died on 26 October 2001, who was an English poet. Jennings was born in Boston, Lincolnshire. She later attended St. Anne's College at Oxford. After graduation, she became a writer. Jennings' early poetry was published in journals such as Oxford Poetry, New English Poetry, New English Weekly, The Spectator, Outpost, and Poetry Review. Jennings is known for her lyric poetry and mastery of form. Her work displays a simplicity of meter and rhyme. What is the main theme of this poem? Please have a look at this picture. What do you see? You see a father and son, but it seems there is no connection between them. They behave like strangers. There's no understanding between them. They don't talk to each other. There is complete silence between these two people. So I hope you must have got the idea of the main theme of this poem, generation gap. So what is the main theme of this poem? This poem expresses a father's anguish at the relationship of silence that exists between him and his son. What do you mean by anguish? Anguish is a great mental pain or suffering. So this poem talks about a father's great mental pain at the relationship of silence that exists between him and his son. He feels he does not know his child. He and his son are like strangers who do not understand each other. He wants his son to come back rather than move into a world of his own. He finds his grief returning to anger. Though both wish to improve the relationship by forgiving each other, they achieve nothing. They try to reconcile, but they are not able to make it up. So this is the main theme of the poem. And what beautiful message we get from this poem. The message is one should always be careful with relationships because it takes years and years of love and affection to build a relationship and just a few moments for the relationship to snap and shatter like a glass. So we should always value relationship, whether the relationship is between father and mother, or between father and son, father and daughter, between mother and son, mother and daughter, any kind of relationship we should always value because it takes a long time to build up that beautiful relationship, but just a few seconds for that relationship to shatter like a glass. Before we try to know the poem, let's try to understand the meanings of some difficult words that we are going to have in the poem. Prodigal. Children, you must have learned the story of prodigal son in the gospel. Yes, the meaning of prodigal is extravagant. longing. Longing is actually a very strong desire. Here, the desire to forgive each other. Here, the strong desire of father and son to forgive each other and reconcile. Design. The meaning of design in the context of the poem is behavioral design, having similar traits like the father. Grief, sorrow in the hearts of the father and the son. Seed. What is the meaning of seed in the context of the poem? In the poem, the word seed means love and care by father to the son since his childhood. That is the seed. Finally, globe, the earth. Now, let's come to the first stanza of the poem. I do not understand this child, though we have lived together now in the same house for years. I know nothing of him, so try to build up a relationship from how he was when small. Once more, I do not understand this child, though we have lived together now in the same house for years. I know nothing of him, so try to build up a relationship from how he was when small. Yes, when the son was small, look at the first picture on the left side. The son was very close to his father. Now the right picture, the son is grown up, but it seems they are not so close to each other. They don't understand each other. So what is the meaning of the first stanza? The meaning of the first stanza is, father says he has not succeeded in understanding his son because he himself could not grow up with his son. So when the son was growing up, father couldn't accompany the growth of his son. What do you mean by growing up together? When the son was growing up, father should have maintained that relationship of understanding with the son, but it seems he could not do so. The narrow-mindedness of the father might have stopped him to understand the changes his son would have been experiencing. The narrow-mindedness, the father was not able to think in a broad way. Here comes the problem of generation gap. So he could not understand the changes that his son was experiencing that time when he was growing up. But now, the father, having failed to comprehend the height of his son's emotional growth, is making attempt to understand him as a child instead of trying to know the changed world wherein his son is growing up. So now father is trying his best to understand the emotions of his son, but he's not able to do so because the world that his son is enjoying is a changed world, and father is a stranger to that changed world. That's why he's not able to understand his son. So this is the meaning of the first stanza. Let's read the first stanza once more. I do not understand this child, though we have lived together now in the same house for years. I know nothing of him, so try to build up a relationship from how he was when small. Now come to the second stanza. Yet have I killed the seed I spent, or sown it where the land is his and none of mine? We speak like strangers. There's no sign of understanding in the air. This child is built to my design, yet what he loves I cannot share. Once more, yet Have I killed the seed I spent, or sown it where the land is his and none of mine? We speak like strangers. There's no sign of understanding in the air. This child is built to my design, yet what he loves, I cannot share. Now, what do you see in the picture? Father and son behaving like strangers. As if they don't know each other at all. So what is the meaning of the second stranger? Whatever attempts father made and whatever pains and protections he took and gave his son, while his son was growing up, are now in vain. They are useless because the son wants his life according to his own ways and does not expect his father to do any kind of interference in his life. This is really a very pathetic situation for a gardener like father. The father and son now behave like strangers in their own house, and there is no sign of understanding between them. The self-centered father feels ashamed of revealing his son's dislikes and preferences, though he wishes to design his son's life according to his own. So father is making lots of efforts. He's taking a lot of efforts to understand his son. He wants to design the life of his son, but son wants to design his life according to his own ways, and he does not want any kind of interference from his father in his life. So this is a very pathetic situation for the father. And so these two very important members of the family, they behave like strangers in their own house. They don't understand each other. Father is ashamed that he is not able to understand the likes and preferences of his son, whereas he wants to design his son's life according to his own. This is the meaning of the second stanza. Now, let's read the second stanza once more. Yet, have I killed the seed I spent, or sown it where the land is his and none of mine? We speak like strangers. There's no sign of understanding in the air. This child is built to my design, yet what he loves, I cannot share. Now come to the third stanza. Silence surrounds us. I would have him prodigal, returning to his father's house, the home he knew, rather than see him make and move his will. I would forgive him too, shaping from sorrow a new love. Once more, silence surrounds us. I would have him prodigal, returning to his father's house, the home he knew, rather than see him make and move his will. I would forgive him too, shaping from sorrow a new love. So, you can see the picture. Now, father is ready to forgive his son. He is ready to accept his son, even with his extravagant nature. Now, students, you are very clear about the difference between house and home. House is just a physical structure. How can we convert house into a home? Feelings, emotions, love, care for each other. That will convert the house into a home. So father wants his son to come back to the home, whereas the place where they live is a house, not a home, because there's no feelings between them. There's no feelings of care, love, understanding between them. So it's just a house. But it used to be a home in the past when the son was small. So what is the meaning? Silence surrounds us. The father and son. So silence surrounds father and son. It means they don't talk to each other. There is no love or communication between them. The father wants that his son should return to him just as a prodigal son. And yes, you must have learned the story of the prodigal son, or the parable of the prodigal son in the Bible, where the prodigal son later on returned back to the father. In the same way, this father wants his prodigal son to return, and he's ready to forgive him even with his extravagant nature. The son was a wastrel and idler. He left home and went away. Yet, when he would return after several years, the father would celebrate his return. He will try to build a new, loving relationship with his son. So, like the story of the prodigal son in the Bible, the father is ready to forgive his son, and even accept him with his extravagant nature. And he is even ready to celebrate the return of his son. Then he will try to build up a new loving relationship with his son, like before when the son was small. This is the meaning of the third stanza. So let's read the third stanza once more. Silence surrounds us. I would have him prodigal, returning to his father's house, the home he knew, rather than see him make and move his will. I would forgive him too, shape him from sorrow a new love. Now the final and the fourth stanza. Father and son, we both must live on the same globe and same land. He speaks, I cannot understand. Myself, why anger grows from grief. We each put out an empty hand, longing for something to forgive. Once more. Father and son, we both must live on the same globe and same land. He speaks, I cannot understand. Myself, why anger grows from grief. We each put out an empty hand, longing for something to forgive. So what do you see at the picture? The left side, anger grows from grief. Earlier, father was just sad. He was undergoing sadness, but now that sadness has taken the shape of anger. Right hand side, father and son trying to reconcile. They try to forgive each other and come closer, but in vain. But it didn't work out. What is the meaning of the fourth stanza? The first two lines, father and son, we both must live on the same globe and same land. He speaks, I cannot understand. Myself, my anger grows from grief. The first two lines express the helplessness and anguish of the father. The father cannot understand why he becomes angry in spite of his grief when his son speaks. They both are trying to forgive each other. They are trying to reconcile. Yet they turn apart. But they are not able to do so because of their ego. So father and son trying to reconcile, but it didn't work out. Let's read the fourth stanza once more. Father and son, we both must live on the same globe and same land. He speaks, I cannot understand. Myself, my anger grows from grief. We each put out an empty hand. Why is it empty hand? Because their effort to reconcile didn't work out. An empty hand longing for something to forgive. So, this is the poem. Now, let's analyze the poem. In the poem Father to Son, the poet has portrayed the generation gap between a father and his son. The poem basically brings out the father's illusion towards his son. The father is seen as a helpless human being who, since his childhood, has been unable to understand his son's emotional growth. While the father finds fault in his own son, it is the father to be blamed. Where the father shows his incapacity to understand his son, he at the same time reveals several unknown facts about his son. Now, what are the poetic devices used in the poem? Alliteration. The lines where this poetic device, alliteration, is used, the lines are, the seed I spent or shown, SS. Silence surrounds us, SS. Shaping from sorrow. Sorry, the spelling of sorrow was typed wrongly. It should be SORROW. Now, the next poetic device is simile. We speak like strangers. Here, the poetic device simile is used. Like strangers. Yes. The third poetic device is metaphor. His father's house. His father's house. Now, what is the rhyme scheme? ABBA. What is the irony in the poem? The poet has highlighted the sharp contrast between him and his son by using irony. For example, he says that they have lived together for many years, yet he knows nothing about his son. The son is formed as the father shaped him to be, yet he has become a completely different person. So this is the irony in the poem Father to Son. I hope this short video lesson must have helped you to understand the poem, as well as it will help you at a time of revision just before your exam. Thank you. Again, stay safe and healthy.